following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this third day of January 2024. Today's show, as always, brought to you by SeatGeek.com and the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase over there at SeatGeek. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to BellyUpSports.com for all their great articles and other podcasts, such as the Corner Booth podcast, Rise at the Occasion, my guys over there at Craft Brewed Sports, and many, many other shows that we're hoping to collaborate with in the new year. Lots of things happening over there at Belly Up Sports. We'll get to them in by the end of the show. I have a little announcement to make about that. And thank you very much for everybody who's tuning in for the first time, or I've been waiting around the airwaves for us to get another show out. First 14:20 in the morning. As you guys know, if you're your first time listening, or you're a long time listener or watcher on YouTube, we're in the middle of a move where we changed locations. Got a new world headquarters. It's our house, but down here at the Yankee Tavern North, if you see behind me, it's all getting put together. It's a rather hectic time of. It's always hectic to move, but it's more hectic during the holiday season. Family came out. And it was great holiday season, and take a little bit of a time to reset. So thank you very much for being patient. We'll get these shows out on a more regular basis. Hope to do more live things as the year progresses and everything else. But thank you very much for everybody who's tuned in. And another thing, like a Happy New Year always. But yeah, I've always had a not a problem, but an issue of when to stop saying Happy New Year. Is it through the month of January? Do you get to the 15th? Is it to the 7th when you get to Orthodox Christmas? Is it one of those things that you don't really know when the because if you say it twice to somebody, you forget who you see in and out, or how you bid adieu to somebody and or greet somebody. When do you stop saying Happy New Year? It's one of those things you're not really sure exactly what to do. I'm sure it's not anything written in stone, but for those of you who have an idea when to get it done, let us know. So I follow the company line, I guess, for the Happy New Year's greetings and everything else. Anyways, a lot going on in the world of sports. New Year's Day, there was a couple of great college football games. Maybe we'll talk about that. But Dave, tomorrow night, as his Michigan Wolverines survived a game they probably didn't look like they were going to win for a little bit in the second half, but they survived. They had the extra point attempt and a field goal that was missed as well. Thought that would come back to haunt them, as it usually does in college football. And then Washington holding on to beat Texas. So you got a very good championship game coming up on Monday night. One thing I want to get out before we get to the World Junior Tournament, today's topic conversation here at 14:20 in the morning, is I understand they want to spread the wealth and spread the play-in games. I don't know how they're going to do it next year when they expand to 12 games, but I think something that they should really, really try to do. And I don't know how you could possibly do it, but make sure that the Rose Bowl, because now that the Rose Bowl doesn't mean as what it used to with the Pac-12 disbanding, and you have the Big Ten and everything else, how it used to be the Pac-10 or Pac-12 Big Ten championship champions playing in the Rose Bowl year in, year out. Let's get that back to being the tradition. Let's have that as the end of the season. Let's have that as a national championship game at the Rose Bowl. It's the greatest setting in football. I don't think anybody can dispute that. If they're trying to dispute that, they're lying to not only me but themselves. The way the sun comes down, and it's just the magical setting that it is, and the fans and the tradition of it all. You have the Rose Bowl parade every New Year's Day, and have that game as the end of the football season. Don't drag it into the college or to the pro season. Don't drag it in there anymore, because it'll take away a little bit luster. People will not be watching on Monday night. If you're a big fan, absolutely you will be, but it won't bring in the fringe fans, which I think that they're trying to do. College doesn't need any more, and football in general doesn't need any more fans. But I think that the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day should be the end of the college football season, and have that as your national championship game year in, year out. It's just something that you're used to seeing. It's something I'm used to seeing, and have that game mean the most in the college football schedule every year, I think, is how that college football should do it. Because remember, college football is all about tradition. So why not just do it that way? There's the college football. There's your tip from 1420 World Headquarters on this third day of January 2024. Get it done right, and go from there. Anyways, around this time of year, year in, year out, the World Junior Championship takes center stage for hockey fans right across Canada, and it's growing around the world. Let's not kid ourselves. We'll get to that in half a second. But Canada went out with a whimper yesterday, lost 3-2 to Czechia in a game that they probably should have won, but they got goalied a little bit. Canada fell behind 2-0 early in the first period. When I woke up, got my sorry carcass out of bed, a little bit tired from New Year's festivities a couple nights before, and then moving in and everything else. So I get a little worn out, had a little sleep in yesterday. Not only up to 7 o'clock, but it was already 2-0 for Czechia. A couple of goals that went in that probably shouldn't have, but it's just that's how hockey is. Canada dominated that game in the second and third period. Deserved a better fate, but they got goalied quite badly. And it's one of those things. Yeah, as you're watching those games, you can kind of see that it was going to happen. That the Canada, if they didn't get 1 or 2 early in the third period, that they're going to hold on for dear life and maybe squeak one out. But as the hockey gods, as they always do in that goofy game, it ended up being a situation where a bad bounce like against Canada, lucky bounce for Czechia, and before you know it, 11 seconds left, and the game was over, and that's it. Canada's heading home in the quarterfinals. See you later. No medal, no nothing this year. And people across the world, across the hockey world in Canada, are panicking like no one's business. It's sad to see. Like sometimes, like I understand that there's some disappointment and there's some disdain and some like what ifs and if everything with Canada and the way it all works out. And you wonder why people don't realize that these kids are just you know what. They're kids. They're 17 to 19 years old. Canada's best player, Macklin Celebrini, is just 17 years old. He's a draft eligible player for this year. So you just wonder why people get so butthurt and so bent out of shape. Yes, you'd rather see Canada win. Yes, you would rather see Canada be in a game situation today where they're playing a semifinal matchup in a gold medal game, which probably would be against the United States. But it didn't happen. So that's just the way things go. But Canadians in general, yes, they're passionate about the sport, and yes, they're passionate about the game. But the days of Canada rolling through everybody and the days of Canada having the best players available to them are long gone. NHL teams are more than likely not releasing players to end up going to a world championship anymore around the holiday season, unless they're getting sent down to their junior teams in the new year, which happens less and less because of contracts and the business end of things. So people getting all butthurt and crazy about Canada not meddling this year. They shouldn't be talking bad about the players. They're just kids, and they could be playing midget hockey, or they could be playing junior B hockey, or they could just, you know what, just be playing hockey in their local community team and helping the Fort McLeod All-Stars or Fort McLeod Arts Cattle Liner team or whoever the sponsor might be on those teams. And it's a they're very young gentlemen that they're trying their hardest. Yes, there is some guys out there that are quite entitled, but in general, they are just kids and they're having a good time playing, and they are out there playing for their country. And you know that they're not obligated to go. They could say no to they could do what U.S. college kids do. Say no, I don't want to hurt my draft prospect. I'd rather play for my junior team. I'd rather go home for Christmas. They have an opportunity to say no, but 99 times out of 100, these kids don't say no, and it's an honor to put on the maple leaf and go out and play for your country and hope to bring back a world championship, which Canada's gotten overly spoiled over the 30 or 40 years that this tournament's gotten so big. Like you remember back in 1990 when the Lindros led Team Canada beat the Russians in Saskatoon. That's when this tournament really kicked off. Hard to believe that's 33 years ago when that whole thing started going. But you go back to a lot of different teams that Canada had the best players available to them year in, year out, and now that kids aren't they're making the NHL at the age of 18, at the age of 19, and they're sticking with those teams. They're not going back to junior, and you see that this it's not a problem, but it's a situation that Canada has where they don't have the same amount of players available to them. You look at like this year's team, their best player, like I said earlier, was Macklin Celebrini. He's a draft eligible kid this year. He's a 17-year-old player, just as Connor Bedard was last year. He's not as good as Bedard as of right now. He's going to be a very good player, but when your best player is only 17 years old and draft eligible, hasn't played at the highest levels, is kind of still getting used to being away from mom and dad a little bit. When you're relying on a 17-year-old kid to be your star and to score you the most goals in your tournament, you're probably not the best recipe for success. Yes, Bedard did it last year, but that kid's a freak, and he's a very special talent. Like, not that Celebrini's not, but he was not at the level that Bedard was last year. And like, if Canada didn't have Bedard last year, they don't win. And it's that simple. That Canada probably shouldn't have won last year, and they got the gold medal, and they didn't win this year because they didn't have that outstanding talent. I didn't think that Canada's goaltender Matthias Rousseau was very good. I thought he was quite bad, and that's cause for concern. I shouldn't say bad. He wasn't good. Like, he wasn't good enough is the biggest thing. He was kind of had a stinker against Germany. He played every minute of every game for Canada. They probably should have went the backup a little bit, especially in that mop up game with Latvia. Maybe see what he had going in the third period when it was 5 or 6-0, and see what he could do and give him a little bit of playing time. But they went with this Russo kid, and he wasn't very good. The two goals he let in earlier yesterday were not good goals, and then the one that went into with 11 seconds left yesterday didn't help his cause. But it was a a bingo bango ping pong kind of a goal, and all of a sudden Canada's going home, and they didn't get the goaltending a la Carey Price, a la Manny Legacy, a la Jimmy Waite. You go back through the history, Carey Price back in 2007, I think it was, with the shootout game against the Americans, and you look at the goaltending they didn't get yesterday or throughout the tournament from Russo, and that's cause for concern for the Team Canada's ahead. They're talking about best on best competition, they're talking about going back to the Olympics. Canada doesn't have an outright number one guy. Not that this Russo kid would have been the next Olympic goaltender, but they don't have anybody right now. That's the kid from Aiden King or whatever his name is, who plays for Vegas. He might be Canada's best hope for a goaltender. And if I don't even know the guy's last name, yes, he's a Stanley Cup winner, and that's more on me not caring about the Vegas Golden Knights goaltender. But if that's Canada's best hopes for having the best goaltender in a best on best situation, Canada's in trouble, big trouble at an Olympic situation where their goaltending has been the strength for years. But I'm a goalie hugger, you guys know that, and that has been a thing for a long time. So Canada just didn't have it. I didn't think that the rest of the team put up enough of an offensive punch. They probably could have went away. They probably could have had a little bit of a change in leadership there. The captain was good. Fraser Minton was okay, but he was not a guy that was up front that should have been on the first power play unit. He was okay. He didn't put up any points really of any substance at all. Their other best player, I thought, was the Geeky kid. Noah Geeky plays, I think, for the Wenatchee Wild. They moved from Winnipeg last year. He was really good. That penalty that he got 11 seconds into the game against Germany was kind of a bullshit call. It took me until 10-11 this morning to say my first swear word here at 14:20 in the morning. I thought it was a horseshit call, but that's the way international hockey is. It wasn't a great call. It was a hard hit. You really had to slow the tape down to see any head contact. It was a bad call, but anyways, the Geeky didn't play that game against Germany. They didn't turn out needing him. They squeaked that game out. So in general, Canada just wasn't good enough. They probably they lost to Sweden. They probably should have lost to Finland. They would not have beaten the USA this year. It would not have happened if they got the gold medal game. It wouldn't have been close. The US would have just rolled through them, and it would have been a bad look for Canada. So maybe losing out to Czechia now in a heartbreak fashion, upset fashion, might have been more of a consolation prize than getting your butts kicked either by the Swedes in the semifinals in front of their hometown crowd, who probably should have lost yesterday to Switzerland, but they got refereed pretty badly in that game. And then you had the U.S. team was very, very strong. So it's probably better that Canada lost yesterday instead of getting their asses handed to them by the U.S. in the final game. And that's the biggest thing. People got to realize that the rest of the world has caught up to Canada. We didn't have some of our best players, like you had the Bedard kid who couldn't play. Shane Wright from he's playing down in Seattle's farm system. Who else was there? Zach Benson and Adam Fantilli, who's starting to put the pucks in the net out there in Columbus. So he wasn't playing. So there's 5 guys right there who would have helped Canada a lot. And you say, yeah, well, other teams are missing guys too. Well, that's not exactly true, because I think the U.S. missing 1 or 2 guys. But the Swedes, because they have the Swedish Elite League, a lot of those kids went back and played for that World Junior team. So it's not really the same comparison a lot. So a lot of Canadian kids who would have helped this team, who would have been 3 and 4 guys, all of a sudden Canada's 3 and 4 guys this year should have been 8 and 9 guys kind of deal, right? So it does make a big difference. There were D-men who were playing National Hockey League who probably would have helped out the team a lot, but goaltending came down to what it was. But if you always have the puck and you're not giving up shots, you don't need a great goaltender. You're a serviceable goaltender, and that's what Canada didn't have last year or this year with the Russo kid. It's too bad to see. Like I said, I'm disappointed. I'm not setting the alarms off. I'm not saying Canadian hockey is down the tubes. I'm just saying other teams, other countries have caught up. The development systems down in the United States are second to none. The way they develop their junior age players, and look at the pro team that they like. If there was a best on best competition right now, you got to think that the Americans would probably have the advantage over everybody else. So just the development of all the players has picked up. You look at all the players on the other teams who are stars with Czechia, with Russia. No, Russia's not there. With Sweden, with Finland. A lot of those kids play in the CHL anyways, Canadian Hockey League. So they're playing either in the Quebec League, the Ontario League, or the Western League anyways. So they're developing their skills over here. So you got a lot of players who are still getting developed by the Canadian system. So it's not a complete disaster. It's disappointing, but it's not a disaster. And people who are online, they're bad-mouthing 17, 18-year-old kids. Yes, I said some derogatory things, but those kids are trying, right? Will we ever hear from these kids again? Probably not most of them, right? It's the way it all turns out. But getting upset, like next week, I'm not going to, if they would have won, I wouldn't remember their names anyways, right? There's the odd kid who stands out at this tournament that you follow throughout their pro career. But in general, this is a lot of these guys, they're one-hit wonders, one shot at fame, and then that's it. So to get that worked up about a junior hockey player in a junior hockey game, yeah, you'd rather see your country win. Yeah, you'd rather see your team win. But in general, you got to go to work the next day, and you put it all behind you. And like I said, they're just kids who are trying their best, giving their all, and that we should really tip our hats to these guys for doing what they're doing and going out and taking time out of their year, because a lot of these kids they leave home in the end of August. They don't get to go home again until their junior team is out of the playoffs. They might go home for a couple of days now that they're flying back to Canada, but after that it's back to whatever small town in Canada that they might be playing junior hockey or their college team. So tip of the cap to these kids for going out and doing it. We really appreciate that it's great drama, it's great entertainment for hockey fans, but in general it's just a game, so we shouldn't get too worked up about these kids not winning a gold medal. And like I said, you wouldn't remember who most of these kids are later on when it's all said and done. But that Celebrini kid looks like he's the real deal. He looks like he's gonna be a really good player. Will he be a bit better than Bedard? Probably not. Will he be better than Fantilli? It looks like he could be. Fantilli's he struggled a little bit, but you get drafted to a bad team, you're going to struggle. That's just the way it is with Columbus, the Blue Jackets this year. And tip of the cap as well to the Professional Women's Hockey League. Last night's game, Montreal in Ottawa. Over 8,000 women or 8,000 fans to watch a women's hockey game there. A tip of the cap to them getting going on New Year's Day and going now. They're rolling. They're under one umbrella. It's going to be a great league. I would rather see them having some body contact. Yes, they do get aggressive, but they're just not they're not hammering girls in the corner and everything else. I'd rather see them get rid of the full face mask. That's just a me thing. Let's just get it right back to it. At least the junior hockey level of competition. It's very good entertaining hockey. It's very skilled hockey. I always like to see that extra little bit added, but tip of the cap, Professional Women's Hockey League, for getting going here in North America this year. You're doing a great thing for girls right across the country, and there's lots of stuff going on behind the scenes. Maybe we'll talk about that on Friday. We'll talk about that a little bit and got a little research. Want to get a person on who's a lot more than know that. But tip of the cap to the Professional Women's Hockey League for what you're doing across North America and for the development of women's sports right across the country. Let's get to birthdays on this days, and then I got a final thought, and then we'll get everybody out of here. Where are we here? On this day in 1920, the Boston Red Sox agreed to sell George Herman, better known as Babe Ruth, to the New York Yankees for $125,000 and a $350,000 loan that some would say would start the curse of the Bambino. The deal came about after Ruth told the Red Sox that he would not play for them in the 1920 season unless he got a pay raise to $20,000 a year, even though he signed a 3-year, $30,000 contract during the 1919 offseason. Ruth led the Red Sox that 1919 season with 29 home runs and 113 RBIs, but the Red Sox finished in 6th place in 1919. Ruth went on to play for 15 years for the Yankees, where he hit 659 home runs, 1,978 RBIs, and a batting average of .349, including his 1927 season, where he would hit 60 home runs, a record that would stand until Roger Maris hit 61 for the Yankees in 1961. The curse of the Bambino would last until 2004, when the Red Sox would come back from a 3-0 deficit, burst the Yankees in the ALCS to win that series in 7 games, then go on to beat the St. Louis Cardinals in 4 straight games. Kind of an anticlimactic World Series, one thing you consider, but I'm sure Red Sox fans were happy. But the way that playoff all played out with the Yankees having that 3-0 lead, Ortiz hit the home run, and the rest is history. Come back and win in 7 games, and then that was it. curse of Bambino. There's a great story behind all that. How like the Red Sox actually put up Fenway Park as collateral to the Yankees for the loan that they were given of $350,000, and then the Red Sox didn't take any players because there's really no players that could match what they were going to get from the Yankees. It was just it was a no. You couldn't. You couldn't offer enough players to take for what Ruth was. So on this day, it all went down back in 1920. The curse of the Bambino all began. And happy 43rd birthday to retired NFL quarterback and two-time Super Bowl MVP Eli Manning, born on this day in 1981 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Eli is the youngest of three sons born to Olivia and College Football Hall of Famer Archie Manning. Manning spent 4 years at Ole Miss after a standout high school career at Isidore Newman High School. At Ole Miss, Manning threw for 10,119 yards and 81 touchdown passes and finished third in the Heisman in his senior year. Manning was drafted first overall by the San Diego Chargers in the 2004 draft, even though he told them he would not be playing for them. Manning was then traded to the New York Giants for Phillip Rivers and an assortment of draft picks. Manning was one of 17 quarterbacks taken in the 2004 draft, along with Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger. And of the three, he has the lowest yards, touchdowns, completions, TD to interception ratio, and winning percentage, but has 2 Super Bowl championships and 2 Super Bowl MVPs, outshadowing the other two. Happy birthday to Peyton and Cooper's little brother, Eli Manning. It's funny to think that he said, don't draft me, and they drafted him anyways, and the rest is history. Like, Phillip Rivers had a great career there in San Diego. Like, so let's not forget that. He had a great career. He produced a lot of kids too, but let's not forget that. And then if you think about what was it, Tyreek, or I can't remember his name, but that touchdown catch, or the scramble that Manning had and everything else, and that catch on the helmet, and the way it all turned out for Eli Manning on this, I think he's a Hall of Famer. Just the numbers, you win 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think you probably get in. But he's one of those guys that's really, really good. And he's definitely the Hall of pretty good. But he's in the Hall of Famer. Who knows? But happy birthday to Eli Manning. That's it. I was going to do a final thought on the Aaron Rodgers thing, but maybe I'll let that one rest for a day, because I think the guy should do. Maybe what I was going to say kind of goes against what I think. Maybe we should let this guy go away in oblivion. Some derogatory remarks about him, from him about Jimmy Kimmel and the Jeffrey Epstein plane and things like that. Like, there's some things that are funny, and maybe it's time for a few guys to be taken off the air and not be given a platform. Yes, there's freedom of speech. I understand that. I'm not saying you can cancel everybody for saying things, but freedom of speech is one thing. You're not allowed to lie. You're not allowed to lie. You're not allowed to make things up and spread disinformation. That's not what freedom of speech and then the Constitution and everything else was meant to be. So maybe it's time that we took some guys off the air that shouldn't be allowed to be there, because, like I said, freedom of speech isn't. It's not freedom to lie, and that's what. And Aaron Rodgers has been doing a lot of things and pushing a lot of disinformation for a long time. And maybe it's just time to go away to maybe Epstein Island. But anyways, we'll get into that another day. Hey, everybody, thank you very much. Oh, by the way, I won the Curator of the Year award for the Belly Up Media Network. So thank you to all the guys over at Belly Up for voting for me, and I won that award on last Thursday. We had the little Christmas party, and what's going on in the new year. We're really going to be expanding our YouTube channel and the Belly Up YouTube channel. Some more collaborations, some more different things that are going to be happening behind the scenes that will get out to everybody's ears. So thank you very much once again. I don't know what the award is. It's a cash prize. I have no idea, but felt pretty good about myself for the hard work that we put in here at 1420 World Headquarters, and all the different collaborations and things and ideas that we have in our head to get this out in the airwaves and to see where we can take this crazy thing. We're 3.5 years into this, and it's still a lot of hard work. Still love doing it, but you get a little pat in the back sometimes. It doesn't hurt, and it gets a little pep in the steps, because not gonna lie to you, there have been times in the 3.5 year history of this thing where I've thought, when I give it up. It's a lot of work for not much reward. There's some shows you put out there that are a lot of fun. There's some shows you put out there that there's no way this won't get 5,000 downloads, right? And then sometimes those ones end up getting maybe 50, right? So it's one of those things that you get between your own ears on when you're a podcaster, when you're a broadcaster, or when you're content creator, whatever it might be. You get in your own head sometimes, but sometimes that little pat in the back, it urges you forward. So I think I kind of needed that during the holiday season, and get the Curator of the Year award for the Belly Up Media Network. Thank you very much for everybody, like I said, who listens to the show on a daily basis. We appreciate it very much. If you haven't checked out our show that me and Jim from the fan of the band, Garrett from Two Sports News, and of course Dave did on New Year's Day. It was a lot of fun, not nearly as riled up as we usually get. It was middle of the afternoon. I was feeling the effects of New Year's Eve a little bit, and so everybody was a little bit tired. So it wasn't hard hitting. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun though. So make sure you check that one out. Check out some of our old shows as well. Go to Belly Up Sports. Check out all those great shows as well. Support your local, your indie podcasters. The big boys don't need your help. It's guys like us who need your help for downloads and listens, subscribes, and all that stuff. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel today. And hey, have a great New Year's. All the best to you in 2024. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a great day, folks. We'll talk to you tomorrow. You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. For beer with the sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Let's get into it.